You're listening to Robyn Flan's Drummer Interviews, the #1 drum radio show in all of Los Angeles,
the world, the galaxy.
Hi everyone, it's Robyn Flans with Robyn Flans Drummer Interviews, and I'm sitting here with my co-host Ed Eblin.
Welcome everybody, special day going on today.
It is a special day. We have a special show about the LA Studio Roundtable and the day that the 7 guys, the most famous, incredible, amazing recording drummers on the planet, showed up at our Reseda, California house, and it was incredible getting them there in the first place, arranging all their schedules and coming up with a day that they could all do it. I mean, that was an act of Congress. And the day was crazy. It was, but the thing is that Ed and I were, aside from Lissa Wales, who was the photographer there, who's sadly no longer with us, and who was a dear friend, we were the only people there in addition to those 7 people. So
that's right. 7 people, Lissa, and 3 dogs, as I recall that day.
Yeah, 3 dogs. And a brand new, crazy, out of control boxer puppy named Obo, with ears bigger than her head. And we used to call her the Flying Nun, for those of you who saw that TV show. But anyway, we've never told these stories that sort of accompanied that day that happened along with that insane day that was very special in our lives. So I want Ed to kick it off because he has a really sweet memory that happened when he opened the door to one Mr. Jeffrey Porcaro.
That's true. But before I get to that, I just want to say it's easy to get 7 guys at your house, no matter what business they're in, if you're offering free food. It's just it's an easy thing to do. But that being said, no, that day definitely was incredible, and I was reminiscing with Robyn the other day before we decided to do this type of a show. But I remember looking outside at one point after everybody was already there and noticing that the front of our house was lined with Mercedes-Benz. And I'd never seen anything like that except on a car lot. But it was a pretty amazing thing. And yes, somebody knocked at the door, and because we had panes of stained glass on the door, you couldn't see who was at the door. And I was answering the door to let the guys in because Robyn was busy just preparing everything and getting everything set up and quieting the dogs and all that. So I heard a knock at the door. I went over to the door and opened the door, and there stood Jeff Porcaro, which, for any of you drummers or all you guys listening, and it was an amazing experience in itself. But the minute I did that, he lunged at me. And he jumped on me and wrapped his legs around my waist and hugged me and kissed me on the cheek. So it was obviously a great moment that I wanted to share with everybody, because any drummer who experienced that would almost be the pinnacle of their drumming career at that point. And that's what started it. So it was the beginning of a great day. And he came in. He was actually just a few minutes later than he wanted to be, because he was down the street at a skate park. At that time, the kids were skateboarding a lot, and it was a sort of a new thing. And so he was at a park just watching the kids skate. And so for the first few minutes, we talked about that. But that's what started my day. So it was great.
And so I had set up this 6-foot sandwich and some soft drinks on the dining room table, and everyone was already, at the food and some chips and whatever. I think some, cakes and cookies and stuff and some paper plates and there was Vinnie and Mike Baird and Harvey Mason and Jim Keltner,
Denny Fongheiser,
and they were all sort of. I mean, this for them, I mean, they don't get to hang out with one another very often. I mean, this was a party for them. I mean, it was a great hangout, and they were together. What? I mean, it was like an all-day...
It was at least 6 hours, and there was more hang time after that. But, yeah, the interview process and the getting settled in, and then after it was over, everybody was just sort of hanging and talking. So nobody bolted for the door. Everybody was just in the vibe and hanging out and eating and talking and laughing. So it was great. It was a big... it was a drummers party. It was a fantastic thing.
They were having fun, and the interview was fun. I mean, it was a great environment, and they were enjoying every minute of being together. And so, and they would get up occasionally from the couch. It was a corner sectional. And they would get up from, and go and get food or, whatever. And they were not shy about eating. I mean, they were eating.
No, they got that real good. That sort of happened naturally, all on its own.
There was nothing left when there was nothing. I've never seen that much food disappear in my life. So they were doing that, and then they settled down somewhat. Steve Schaeffer was late. We'll get into that. We'll get more into that. He had an appointment.
Yes.
Yeah. And so he was going to be late, and we weren't going to wait for him. So we were going to start without him, and that's addressed somewhere in the document. It's documented in the recording somewhere when he arrives. But they all found their place on the couch, and I guess. You commented that...
I was just going to say, what did you call it? Being from New England, it was a conversation pit back in my day, but it's sectional now.
Yeah.
So it was a sectional. There was 7 of those guys, and the sectional was pretty filled up. But I just remember Denny Fongheiser sort of being the hinge in that setup, because he was sitting like in the triangulated part of the sectional,
the corner.
And I think it really sort of defied the laws of physics. If anybody had moved, there could have been a large explosion. So it was a great time.
Yeah, he was squished. He was definitely squished.
Once he was there, I think that's where he stayed till the end. And but yeah, it was a great day. And I think the format we're going to follow here, it's going to be a little loose, because we're going to be trying this thing. We're actually playing you the audio recording from that day. So this is a new thing for us, and we're hoping that this is going to go easy, that you guys can hear everything. And there's 7 of them, so and plus Robyn, who's doing the interview, and the dogs, and you're going to hear at some point, I think the phone's ringing, and a lot of this like kind of sound's going to happen. That's going to be Lissa Wales taking pictures of the event. So if you hear that, that's what's going to happen.
And yeah, just be hip to the fact that some people are like have food in their mouths and they're talking while they're eating, and it's what you don't hear when you see it in print. And if you the laughter and the camaraderie is obvious. You're going to get a real feel for this. What it was like to be in that room. It was
it was amazing. It was every drummer's dream, I think. And I just kept thinking about all the friends I've got who were players who would give anything to be in that moment. Most guys have a hero they'd like to meet, but they have several that influence them over the course of their career. But to have like most of all of your heroes in a room and just conversing back and forth, it was such a great thing. And I was on a high literally for months after that happened, because the chances of getting all of those people in the same room, under the same roof for that length of a time in your own house is that's a golden memory, man. That's something that'll be with me for the rest of my life. And also, but we should probably talk about the CD just for a minute, because there's a couple of things going on with that. Number one, when we talked about somebody's going to win, actually, this 4 CD set of this of the LA Drummers Roundtable. What we would encourage you to do is just use the chat feature on Spreaker. You can actually log in with your Facebook account. We've got this window open here so we can see you when you chat in. We're simply going to pick a name. So if you're the first one to do that and you're not related to us or we don't owe you money, we'll send you absolutely free this great collection of these 4 CDs. And for those that aren't fortunate enough to win one today, you can also still pick one up just by going to robynflansdrummerinterviews.com. And if you look at the tab directly underneath the blue graphic with Robyn on it, but there's a tab that says LA Drummers 4 CD set. If you click on that, you will see that the price today is $29.95 and through PayPal. So you can get a hold of that even if you don't win today. But we're doing this because it's such a great memory and there were so many great stories. And do you want to try to roll a little bit of this?
Go ahead. Play some.
But feel free to chat in if you like while this is going on, and we're going to give this a shot, and we'll be back with you shortly. This is where everybody's sort of getting together.
Yeah,
and
it's
coming.
just the beginning, and it's a little unruly, but it's all real. It's all, real time.
All right, here we go. Enjoy.
What thing?
We're on. Okay?
Oh, okay. All right, Rob.
So now everybody shuts
Go ahead,
up.
Rob.
I love this. All right. Okay, so I guess I'm going to have to ask a question. I should have had the tape on while you guys were talking.
All right, so you can do stuff.
No, we'll get
Nice
it.
candid conversation.
We'll get it back
Yeah,
again.
it's history now, but it's that 50th take now, you've lost it.
That's the first lesson.
Go back to the beginning where we left off.
Pick up where we left off? From what?
Well, Mike and I were talking about guys who you just don't see anymore who,
Go ahead.
like whatever happened to, we were just talking about
Well,
that.
that's an important. We were going to talk about that much later, but
They're already saying that about me. I'm glad he's gone. I'm just kidding.
Oh, you were? Oh.
now, you know what? Because Steve's going to. Oh, that's the other thing. Go ahead, Vinny. You were talking.
I don't know what I was saying now.
You were talking about the
Has-beens.
has-beens.
Don't mystify that much.
I don't want to mark my own fate by starting it with that topic.
All right, we'll get to it later because it's in there anyway. I mean, that is a topic that I want to talk about. But let's start at the beginning. Actually, in an interview with Alex Acuna, like 3 days ago, he said something really interesting to me. He said, well, he told me that Abel Boreal really gave him a start, that he took a risk and he recommended him for sessions when he wasn't ready for sessions. And I said, oh, you weren't ready to do your first sessions? And he said, nobody is. And he said, I don't think anybody will dispute that. And I'm just wondering, all of you, to come up with first, do you remember your very first session? And can you talk about it and what you were met with and what you found out on that session, what awarenesses, what eye-opening experiences? Mike Baird's laughing. Take note. So, what might not you have been ready for? What? Go ahead, Mike. You were laughing. You remember it vividly.
Okay, yeah, let's beg me. Well, I mean, when you're thrown in, my actual very, very first session was in a band situation, so it was a much easier ordeal. But my actual legitimate session was a demo where I was recommended by David Foster, who at the time was doing the Rocky Horror Show. He was a new keyboard player in town, and he was doing a project with Robert Perry, who's now, I don't know what he's doing now, was a producer. Yeah.
TV stuff.
Oh, he does, yeah? So it was at the Village, and I carted my own drums in, and on the date was Richie Zito, David Foster, Elise Hillar, and myself. Scared shitless. because I'd never been in that type of setting. I didn't really know who these people were except for David Foster. So on that end, it wasn't that big a pressure. And of course, you know, all these things happen, like the snares break on the snare drum with no extra snares, and I went to duct taping up to the bottom of the snare drum, completely paranoid out of my mind, you know, and get through the whole day. And at the end, I go, God, you know, the bass player's pretty good. Who's the bass player? He goes, you don't know who Lee Sklar is? I said, no, I didn't know. Where are you from? You know, I grew up in Southgate, and really the names that I was associated with at that time were Jeff's name, because I loved the Steely Dan stuff, and Jim Gordon and Jim Keltner, and then cats, you know, from bands like Bonham and so forth and so on. And so I was really very much naive to the whole studio scene and who was happening and who wasn't. But I wasn't ready from the standpoint of being able to walk in and having the confidence to fall back on, of having a track record of doing things. And that takes time. That's just after doing it. I mean, I don't know that I walk into a session even now and think to myself, oh, this is going to be cake, because I always like it to be a challenge in some aspect. And even if
But realistically, it isn't, is it?
No, I mean, the thing is that it's a very unique thing. I mean, everybody, any of the players in this room, or even other players that aren't here, it's when you watch them play, they make it look easy. Just like you watch a tennis pro play, you know, and you go, oh, I could do that. But you actually get in the middle of the ring, and that's a whole other ball game. You know.
Did you learn anything on that session? I mean, was there like
a
revelation of any sort?
Well, the basic thing that I realized is that which I've never really felt before. I've been in a lot of bands and done a few things here and there, but the communication of actually playing and feedback from one player to another, it was one of those chemistry things that just happened to work. And I just was in love with Lee Sklar's playing. I was all of a sudden like, God, this is a match made in heaven. You know, it just felt like an old pair of shoes. I couldn't believe it. You know, so it was like actually a perfect scenario for a first session. You know.
Jim, first session story.
Let's see. Well, my very first session, my very first actual time in the studio, real, you know, mics and the whole real thing was at it was RCA, and it was with Gary Lewis, and I just came from Don Randy's, you know, Sherry's on the strip there, playing the cool jazz, you know, little tiny 3D grit sticks, you know, and a little drum set, you know, and so they wanted me to play a shuffle, and thank God at that time I wasn't afraid of shuffles, you know. Later on I became deathly afraid of shuffles and ballads and all that stuff. But at that time I didn't know.
Ignorance is bliss.
And so Leon Russell was there, and he told me what to do. He told me exactly what to do.
What did he tell you?
And I did. He said, play it like this with a high ching, 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 and this and that. First of all, he tried to tell me how the real guys played. I think I remember him saying, with the left hand and the right hand together. And I tried it, and it didn't work. I couldn't get it, you know. And to this day, I still can't do that quite like it, you know, the real thing. But so then he said, no, just do it like this, you know, just do it like the boom, the bang, the boom, the bang, you know, with the left hand on the backbeat and the right hand on the end of the shuffle, and kind of open up the hi-hats a little bit. And so I did it, and it worked out, you know. And he told me like a drum fill, the beginning drum fill. He said I played it real kind of, you know, dagga 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 dagga, from up to down. And he said, you know, well, why don't you do it like this? Do it backwards, you know. So I went dagga 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 dagga. But man, that was easy for me, you know, because it didn't take much. And then I did a little thing. I remember with the hi-hat. I went with the hi-hat. He goes dun 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 dun, and so what I did was a dun 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 dun, get down. You know, just kind of opened it up.
So what song was that?
Not thinking about it. It was called Just My Style. And you know, I didn't think anything about it. And later on, they were all raving. I noticed that they were all saying, "That's great. That's really brilliant. That kind of stuff." And I'm like, "What is brilliant about that? What is that?" And they loved it because none of their drummers, their guys at the time, Tulsa guys, had done that before. So I became sort of like a little instantaneous find for them, you know, because I was technically adept enough to do anything they wanted me to do. If they wanted me to play backwards, I hang it upside down or come from underneath the drum or something. You know, I would do all these little things. And that's how I remember my first session. I wasn't really scared until later.
Oh, so you were too stupid to be scared.
I was just too ignorant of it,
So,
God.
well, you know what I meant.
Thanks a lot for that. Words in my mouth. No, it was the ignorance is bliss,
Well, that's what I meant.
Later on, I say, later on because later on, like for instance, I used to be panicky at every session I went to.
Why?
I don't care who it was.
What happened?
And this is for years. It's only now that I'm an old man approaching senility that I actually
No.
It's only now that I finally don't have like this, these heart murmurs and things before I go to play. Yeah,
Why? Well, okay. So tell me about the panic too. What happened? I mean, from the ignorance was bliss. What started making you scared?
It's that thing of knowing what you're doing, what you're supposed to be doing. The more you know,
What were you finding out?
Well, I found out, like, for instance, they used to tell me, Jimmy, you sound like a little mouse running around on top of a thing, like a box or something. Do something with your drums, Listen to this record, listen to that record. I use small speakers, my heads were tight, And so then I learned how to loosen up my drum heads, and I played with the butt of the stick, and, I watched Hal watch Hal as much as I could,
Try to do it.
Be a troublemaker today.
Picking up on that.
Boy, I'm sending you home.
No, I had the great good fortune to come in at a time when I actually got to watch Hal Blaine and Earl Palmer at the drum kit, man, playing, kicking some big bands, H.B. Barnum and stuff like that, and that's stuff that just
So we're going to take a moment. I mean, how much fun was that? How much fun?
That's a lot of fun, and there's a lot more. Well, there's more to it. I'll put it that way.
And the laughter, I mean, you got to know that at one point, I mean, Jeff's laugh, right, is just so ridiculous that at one point, this puppy that we had,
right,
I mean, he got so crazed by Jeff's laugh that he flew on top of Jeff, which made Jeff laugh even more. I mean, that's all part of the CD. I mean, if you get the CD, you hear this insanity happen with the dog because, I mean, Jeff can make any dog go nuts.
Yeah, and it should be mentioned that this is actually an excerpt off the first CD, of which there are 4. So this is the first one. And there's an additional 3 with a lot more content and a lot more stories about, personal stories, studio stories, who these guys work for, and, have recorded for a lot of the same people. And so it was interesting to be a part of that and hear all about that stuff. But, yeah, I think at this moment, we should probably just break for this commercial and then come back, because I think at this point, actually, after Jim speaks, then Jeff, you had asked Jeff about his first studio experiences.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure that's what's coming up.
Okie dokie, let's take a break.
All right, we'll be right back after this.
Okie doke.
If you could design your own drum practice pad, what would it feel like? At ePad, our EnduraFlex practice surface was perfected to eliminate extreme bounce and unrealistic rebound. The benefits of ePad include quiet playing surface and shock-resistant properties that help reduce the risk of stress-related injuries. ePad offers the perfect feel and energy return for developing speed, endurance, and control. You will meet the challenge of the weaker hand with ePad. Warm up with our knee pads, tabletop practice pads. Warming up on ePads provides a natural transition from practice pad to drum set. At ePad, we know the need for speed, control, and endurance. Get your chops together with ePad's EnduraFlex playing surface. Practicing with ePads builds your finger, wrist, and forearm strength and helps you gain better control and endurance. Into feel? Well, ePads replicate the response and feel of a real drum. Our Pro Deluxe knee pad is portable, convenient, and lightweight. Perfect for the beginner, intermediate, or pro touring drummers. Find out why our products are a must-have. ePad, your source for high-quality drum set practice pads and accessories.
listening to Robyn Flan's drummer interviews on Spreaker.com.
So check those pads out at epadco.com. That's epadco.com. And we're back
We are back.
with LA drummer.
Studio Roundtables.
You got it.
And I think, just before we went to break, we were in the middle, I think toward the end of the question, Jim was answering about the first sessions and what was expected of him. And that was a little glitch. It wasn't meant to end that soon, but when it did, we just figured we'd go to break. And at this point, Steve Schaeffer, I think, is about to, in a few minutes, come in. But if I remember correctly, I think the next one up is going to be Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think you're right.
So should we? And maybe if later, if it's, if I can remember exactly how it goes, but Jeff couldn't wait to tell Steve this joke when he showed up. You didn't hear that because it wasn't on.
Well, and why is that? Why? Where was Steve?
Well, I think unfortunately at the time anyway, Steve was separating and getting a divorce. If I remember this correctly,
he was definitely getting a divorce.
Definitely getting a divorce, and I think the reason he came later was because he had an appointment that day.
And he had told, I guess he had told me that he was going to be late because he had an appointment with his divorce attorney, and I guess I must have said something to the crew that he was going to be late because of that.
Yes, and I think to mark that or make it more poignant, Jeff had this really this tasteless joke. I think it was meant to be funny somehow, and it was actually, but he just couldn't wait for him to get through the door to tell him that. Just another little tidbit there. Maybe if I can put this together in my mind, I'll tell it all to you here in a little bit. But I guess we'll go forward with this and see what happens. Here we go.
I maintain that today, anytime, any musician, but I can only speak for myself as a drummer. Every drummer I hear, every musician I hear, whether it's a sax player, guitar player, drummer, whatever, you can't help but, if you love music a lot, like we all do, I know, you can't help but just, you attain that immediately. Whatever they played and their vibe, their feel, the whole thing, their whole musicality, that osmosis, it goes right into you. And you really collect that, that becomes a part of you. Everybody, every player, it seems like. They become a part of your thing, to a degree. And I feel sorry for some of the younger players. I'm sure that every generation says this, but I truly do feel sorry for the kids that will never have ever, know what it's like to experience sitting next to the power of Earl Palmer, sitting next to him, man, when he's playing with Little Richard. I mean, I was chill. I get me chills again thinking about it, And Hal Blaine playing with the Fifth Dimension, or Paul Simon and Garfunkel, at Studio 3. I mean, to watch that happen, I'll never forget that. That's a part of me. And also, it's something that I aspire to constantly, and I never will ever get that feel. Wedding Bell Blues, Hal Blaine, the way he played that shuffle, I'll never be able to play that great. Or Rip It Up, Earl Palmer, But it's something to aspire to, till you die.
All right. Harvey.
Yeah.
First session.
First session. Oh. I'm just going to say, oh. Well, at any rate, I had a funny situation because I read a Downbeat article about studio musicians when I was in high school. And I said, that's what I want to do, even though I was playing clubs. So I rented a studio one summer and went in and started fooling around with my drums. But then when I got in school, I got a job at this place called AAA Recording. And I called them and told them that the guy they were using was not happy. he went, and it was a really brash thing to do. But at the time, I guess I was desperate. So they called me to come in and work, and I took my own drums in. And those are my first experiences at making records there in Boston. So I made like $25 for the day, and I played all the drums and I played all the percussion on it. So, but they were it's like they'd get these clients to come in and pay for the record themselves, so it was a real different situation. They were happy to have anything. So I had quite a bit of confidence when I came out here in 1970.
What did you learn?
But
yeah,
when I came here, I couldn't get arrested as a drummer. So it's a good thing that I had gone to New England and played percussion because I was stuck playing mallets and percussion. Ken was working with Gene Page and Quincy and all these people playing percussion. And I'd say, I play drums. And they'd say, so what, But the
How
good
did you
thing,
get the reputation how did they even know you played percussion?
Well, I came here with Shearing playing drums, but a guy came to see the show, Marl Young, who did the Lucille Ball show, and he wanted to hire me. He said, do you play percussion? If you play percussion, he heard that I did. I said, yeah, I do. And so he hired me for the Lucille Ball show, and I had to play everything. So then there was somebody on there that saw me, and they called me, and so I started doing that stuff. And Ray Brown was doing that, and he called me to do something else, and Marty Byrne. So I started playing only percussion. I couldn't get any drums, but I do some little drum gigs, like somebody that knew. But the good thing about it was that I got to sit next to, as Jim said, Hal Blaine. Got to sit next to Earl Palmer, Jim Gordon.
Yeah, you were in an ideal spot, weren't you?
Everybody.
Jim Gordon forgot to say
I sat next to everybody who was playing at the time, and I learned so much about how to handle different situations because I think had I come to the situation and sat down without saying exactly what happened here in Hollywood, which was totally different than anything that I thought that I was preparing myself for, I wouldn't have been able to interpret. Being able to interpret what I had to do was probably the hardest thing. I probably would have overplayed and played too much. And
so you learned just by
watching?
watching.
I learned by watching and being around.
So what was your actual first drum session?
I can't remember. But I can't remember here in town. But
so it was easy after that. That was just sort of it worked.
But I don't know. It could have been the Silvers. It was a big record. Actually, a record called Misdemeanor, just a Misdemeanor. I think it's a single that it was this one.
And that was easy once you had been in
No,
the
I was
studios?
still nervous, but it was a lot easier than it would have been had I just had to play drums because I was aware of tuning the drums, I listened to how they tune their drums and I just work on my drums and I never get to play them. But I had a couple of kits set up, one for one for the other, and I just tried to tune them. And, I had a set that was set up like Hal's and I had a set that had a different kind of tuning. So I was felt like I was prepared. But so I felt like I got a lucky break as far as checking it out. But
Jeffrey.
First session was with Keltner. My very first session.
I was working next door.
Jack Doherty.
I was working next door when you guys did that. I was doing Carole King.
Oh, wow.
Right, that's right.
That's right.
Wow.
That's funny. God, you are old, aren't you?
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
Go ahead.
Yeah, right, there you go.
Yeah, there's a dog
I'm
there.
going to step on this dog's head.
Okay, so what was that like? So it was
I didn't have a
drums?
driver's license. I was 17. So my mother drove me to the session. I threw up right at the entrance. They did the session in the they did the session on the soundstage at A&M because it was a big band, and it was what's his name you mentioned?
Gordon?
No, Gordon, because this was after. Originally, it was Hal Blaine and Keltner. No, not even Jimmy. You weren't even doing it yet. It was Hal Blaine doing. It was a rehearsal band, and Hal was the drummer in the rehearsal band, and then what's his name? Jules Chaikin called me to see if I would want to do the rehearsal band on Saturdays. And so I did about 5 of them, and I knew because it was, man, who was in that band? It was all the guys as a kid I would see, Max Bennett, Louis Shelton, Carlton, Finley, just all those cats. Yeah. And I knew because of the charts that they were planning, or I would hear them talking that they're going to do a record, and they stopped calling me for rehearsal, so I figured they were going to use a studio guy for the album. And then Doherty called me and says, you ever hear of a drummer named Keltner? Well, at that time, my biggest heroes were Keltner and Gordon. And I said, yeah. He goes, well, we just got off the road with Joe Cocker, and you and him are going to do the rehearsal band for a couple weeks. Right?
Yeah.
And so we rehearsed a couple times before the session.
Yeah.
My mom drove me to the session, borrowed my dad's Black Diamond Pearl Ludwig set, which was just like Keltner's, because I wanted to be just like Jim Keltner. And I wore a vest like Jim Keltner, and I tried to get my heaviest boots I could. Because everybody's meant, you want to emulate your heroes and stuff. Sure. And so just before I got through the door, I was so nervous. I threw up right in the corner. It's still there to stand. Threw up heavy. And then, thank God it was this up-tempo samba, man, because my hands were just doing this. No, and plus, I remember him, I'm like, oh, wow, Jim Keltner, great, you know. And he sits down next to me, and he looks over at me and goes, man, do you read good? I'm going, no. He goes, I don't read that good. He goes, you do the fills. He goes, you do the fills, I'll just keep time. I'm like, right.
Yeah, but tell him what you did, man.
What did I do?
He was ridiculous. He was like Vinnie then.
No, come on.
No, he played some of the most inside-out shit I ever heard.
That was, like I said, that was nerves going 16, up and down. You know? I had chops I didn't even know existed that day. It was hard to know. So that's it.
What did you learn? Any
What did I learn?
Any eye-opening revelations about recording?
No, because fortunately...
No?
No, not then. Except,
Okay.
I had gotten a chance, you know, I played a lot and stuff, and I got a chance to sit and watch like guys like Gordon and a bunch of people play. No, there wasn't anything eye-opening except that I had to get my time together and my reading together.
Other than that, you were perfect.
Other than that, I was perfect.
Yeah. Those are just minor.
Just minor things, you know, time and reading. You know.
Spontaneity, yeah.
Okay, so far Alex is right. Like, nobody's ready for their first session. Is that the deal?
Well, I mean, if you could write, I always said for years, people used to say, you know, how do you get in the business? I mean, if I knew the answer to that, I'd write a book and retire.
Exactly.
There's no formula.
Actually, today I think it's worse.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to get into that after you guys finish your thing.
Yeah, quiet.
Denny.
Sorry.
First session, because now you're...
Okay, my first session. Well, I was up in San Francisco, and it was a demo, and I got a call to play 3 songs. Actually, it was a guy that was from LA was coming up there to do 3 songs. So they sent me a tape, actually. Ended up not being the 3 songs we were going to play. But they sent me a tape, and I, was checking out what this was all about. And I'd never been in the studio, so I called my brother, who was my teacher, said, what do I do? And I, got out articles and read, everything. And these guys were my heroes, so I listened to every record I had on them. And I went there, and it actually ended up being okay. I remember I used, at the time, I was like, okay, it's got to be single head. So I took all the bottom heads off my drums. Everybody said, yeah, you got to dampen the drums, and be real dead. And I think I got pinstripes at the time or something, taped them up. And, it's like, yeah, exactly. Stuff the bass drum a lot, and I taped my wallet to the snare drum,
Who told you that?
Well, I got there and I'm going, this ain't happening. I can't even play this stuff. So I actually, and did some of it, and then just try to recreate, what I've been hearing, and it worked out okay. But then when I came down here in my first session, and it was a different story. I played the metronome. This wasn't to a click or anything. I was playing them. You practice to metronomes. But it's a whole different thing playing to a metronome, but making a click feel good and locking into the click. So when I came down here, the first session, so okay, we're gonna put a click, and it was those digital clicks, and I'd never heard that before, And so I put it through the headphone. I didn't know anything about headphone mixes. It was piano, vocals, and me, and it was a ballad.
What do you mean you didn't know anything?
About like saying,
turn
turn down the singer, or turn down the keyboard so I can hear the click, or in relationship, turn up the bass drum and snare, just something to make me comfortable. So I felt like I was here, and it was like I was in a room.
So you didn't know anything about that?
No,
you just kept quiet?
Yeah, I just kept real quiet. You just said, yeah, exactly. It was a ballad, and it was terrible. It was pretty bad. And so I went home and basically stayed up for days playing to a click track, and was in tears halfway home, going, "Oh, it's it. I'm out of here. I gotta go home.
Never get another chance."
Yeah, that's it. It's over with. And then So
you went home and practiced.
All right.
So, just about now, Steve Schaeffer is coming from his appointment, and Ed, do you remember what happened?
Well, yeah. Well, first let me say that's the end of this CD.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And Steve came in. Literally, it picks up on the second CD. But yeah, Steve came in, and Jeff and he had told this joke actually before Steve got there. He told it to the other guys, and then everybody laughed, and so that was encouragement enough to tell it to Steve when he walked in. And
oh boy!
And with today's climate being what it is, I'm sure most people would find this tasteless. But I think Jeff was Jeff, and he told the joke, and I'll repeat it to the best of my ability, what I can remember of it. But it went something like this. The minute Steve walked in the house and sort of greeted everybody, and Jeff knew where Steve had been, and so he just said, "Listen, man, I got this great joke for you. It's you're going to laugh. It's going to brighten up your day." And he proceeded to tell him that, there's this guy walking on a beach, and he's going through all these hard times, and it's just a low point in his life, and he's, looking for answers, and he's hoping for the best, but he doesn't know what's going to happen. All of a sudden, he comes upon this bottle on the beach, and he looks at it and picks it up, and there's a top on this bottle, and he opens the bottle up, and out pops this genie. And the genie goes, "Look, man, I know your story. I know what you're going through, and you got a divorce pending, and you might lose your home and all of these other things, but I'm here to help you. I'm here to grant you 3 wishes." And the guy says, "Well, I mean, what could you possibly grant me that's going to make this any better?" He said, "Well, let me put it to you this way." He goes, "Whatever you wish for from me, your ex-wife is going to get double the amount." And the guy thought, well, that was kind of weird. Usually it would be the other way around. He goes, "Well, that's what I can do for you. Whatever you wish for, your future ex-wife is going to get double the amount." And the guy goes, "Okay, well, I guess the best revenge is a good life, and that could start with money." He goes, "Well, so you know what? At that point, $1 million was a lot of money." So he wished for the genie to give him $1 million. The genie goes, "Done." He goes, "All right, you've got $1 million. However, your ex-wife's going to get $2 million." And the guy goes, "Okay, well, let me see. What could take my mind off of that?" He goes, "I don't know. How about a big house on the beach? That'd be great, like a mansion on the beach." And the genie goes, "Okay, done." He said, "You now have a mansion on the beach, have a home on the beach, but now your ex-wife has 2 homes on the beach. And this is your 3rd wish, so make it good because this is your last one." And the genie goes, "Let me just reiterate. You have $1 million for your first wish. Your ex-wife now has $2 million. Your second wish was a home on the beach, a mansion on the beach, and now your ex-wife has 2 mansions on the beach. And so this is your last wish. What's it going to be?" And the guy looks at him and he goes, "Okay, so my last wish, and it has to be whatever I wish for, my ex-wife is going to get twice the amount." And the genie goes, "That's right. What's it going to be?" The guy ponders, and he looks up, and he finally goes, "I got it. I wish for my last wish that you'd beat me half to death." So that was the joke, and that's from Jeff Porcaro, folks, not from me. But yep.
Woo!
So there you have it. That was the joke, and that joke isn't on the CD. That just was sort of the benefit of being there at the time it was happening. So
the story behind the day.
That's right. It was a great one. Everybody.
Jeff was just couldn't wait.
This is for Jeff and that. Wherever that went. Okay, so I guess at this point, let's just do the information about the CD, and then we'll unveil this winner.
Well, okay, and also, the CD. It's on my website. It's RobynFlansDrummerInterviews.com. It's for a special price today only. It's 40 CD set. It's $29.95 and free shipping in the United States.
Right, and all I got to do is go to your website, and right under that blue graphic where you see Robyn's picture and that is a little tab that says LA Drummers 4 CD set. And if you click on that and follow the link, all the pertinent information will come up. And if you'd like to order it, you can do so there. And let's see, secondly, or as important, let's get to this contest winner thing. And I think we did something we weren't planning on, but we added another winner to this. And you have
so there's going to be a download winner. You can get also a download of the MP3 on the website. And that download is actually going to go to Nashville, Tennessee's Philip Haro.
Yay, Philip! Congratulations. And it should be said that all 4 CDs are in the download, but they'll just be sent to you to your email address.
Yes, I will have that sent to you. And for the actual CD package, it's going to go to Joe Jackson of Mobile, Alabama.
All right. Congratulations, Joe. You're going to enjoy this. And the best part about it is, you can actually take the CDs, download them to your iPad, iPod, cell phone, whatever you want. These are great. It's just a great thing to have along with all the other music I'm sure you have on your electronic devices. But this is it's a great thing just to be able to listen to and have it available. So
Joe, you're going to need to send me your address info either via my Facebook private message or at info@robynflansdrummerinterviews.com.
Yeah, and which is also a good point to mention. I think most of you guys are probably picking up information about the show off of Robyn's Facebook, which is fine. That's great as long as you're getting the info. The only option you have is if you'd like to sign up on Spreaker, then these things come into the notifications of the shows and who's going to be on them and the content matter comes directly as an email into your email box, and so you can always know what's going on. Or if it's more convenient for you just to do the Facebook thing and read the post, or you want us to mail you directly, just send us your email address at info@robynflansdrummerinterviews.com, and we'll be able to do that. So let me ask you, we've got something happening next week, but we're waiting on a confirmation.
Yeah, I've got a few irons in the pot, as they say, or in the...
And part of the reason for that, just so everybody knows, we always try to do this thing live. A few weeks ago, and our apologies to Danny Gottlieb, who's going to definitely be on the show, but to be completely honest, we've had a few glitches with our computer here, and it causes major problems because we've got the show to do, and we have other software that we're engaging with it. And it's a little glitchy because, to be honest, it's an older computer. So apologies to Danny Gottlieb, but we're really looking forward to having you on, as well as these a lot of other fantastic drummers who have been contacting Robyn. And most of the time we're dedicated to doing this live, but every now and again we're going to have to go to an on-demand format because of the scheduling of the drummer who wants to be on can't be on the particular day that we do live. So it's still going to be a great show. It just means that you can pick up the file on Spreaker.com, play it whenever you'd like, play it for your friends. Nothing beats live, of course, and we love doing that, but we have schedules to keep, and so do other people.
So yeah, we do have some great upcoming people, but I don't want to let the cat out of the bag yet. So, and what do you have going on, Ed?
I actually, I'll be doing a gig tomorrow at the Santa Barbara County Fair with the incredible Los Angeles-based Doo-Wah Riders, Ken Liebenson, Lindy Rasmussen, Tim Weed, Freddie Johnson, and great guys. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I think, we play from 2 in the afternoon, and then we do a show at 5. So at 2 at 5, Santa Barbara County Fair.
Friends of mine, good guys.
Yeah, great guys, great band, and I know they're listening. So I'll keep it clean.
One last story I want you to tell. You
Sure.
had some amazing time with Vinnie after all was said and done.
I had a couple of things about Vinnie, and that day in particular, and it was back in the day where a lot of us were watching him play and doing. He had done, like when he was with Frank Zappa, the one thing that always mesmerized me and all of my friends who played were Vinnie always was holding his hand. He looked like a grasshopper behind the drums, and I believe it was he employed this Sanford Moeller technique, which I didn't really know much or anything about, but I was asking him about it after the interview was over, and everybody was just sort of hanging out. And so, what are you pointing to? Go ahead, just tell me.
He told you
how bad my one good eye is.
He told you he couldn't talk about it because what happened?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, two things. First of all, when I mentioned it to him, he goes, "Oh, have Jeff tell you about that." And then Jeff walked up. He goes, "What are you guys talking about?" And I said, and I looked at Vinny and go, "Well, yeah, great with Jeff, of course, but I mean, but the whole Vinny thing. I just wanted to hear it from his perspective." But he told me he couldn't talk to me that day because he had to rush out because apparently a bird that he had at home had gotten out of its cage and was terrorizing his mother-in-law, or something to that effect. It was so many years ago. But yeah, so he had to get home to do that. But there was one other time when Vinny came by the house, and I think it was several months after, but he had gotten his Zildjian stick endorsement. Zildjian was making his signature model stick, and I was going through a little thing with the band, a publishing disagreement. And I got to sit in front of the house in Vinnie Colaiuta's white Corvette for, 2 or 3 hours while the guy talked to me about publishing and band. It was really great. And, it was the coolest I ever looked, sitting in a Corvette with Vinnie Colaiuta in Southern California. It doesn't get better. So it's a great memory. A lot of these are great memories. We hope you enjoyed this show today. It was a different format for us, but just as much fun hearing the stuff again and shaking the cobwebs off.
And if nothing else, I hope that Jeff Porcaro's laugh brought you some wonderful joy, because every time I hear it, it is medicine to my soul.
Oh, it's all over this this LA Studio Drummers 4 CD set. There's actually another story that you would actually hear. I don't remember which CD in particular, whether it was 3 or 4, but it was about Steve Schaeffer talking about doing a session. I think it was for Herb Alpert, and he was recording, and I guess the drums were overnight in the studio, and but they were also remodeling the studio, so they had to cover the instruments, from day to day. And I guess apparently the one of the workers, the painters or construction workers, had put like a drop cloth over Steve's drums. And I guess before Steve got there the next day, one of the workers had like a paint stirrer or some kind of thing and just started whacking on the drums with the tarp or canvas over them. And I guess the engineer or Herb or somebody just said, "Hey, that's a great sound." And boy, that elicited a major laughing attack out of Jeff. It's just great to hear it. You can tell this guy, just had a huge personality, and it was a lot of love and all that too. But it's just really funny to hear people enjoying themselves. It's a great
yeah,
thing.
This is something that, if you thought that you read it in print, it's nothing like print, and that's why we've done this. So anyway,
well, and by the way, let me just add one more thing, because we were talking about Lissa, and one of the pictures that Lissa took, when you guys, if you have that old modern drummer and you read that, you'll see there's a black school bus. And the black school bus was actually, my family had come out from New England, Rhode Island specifically. My brother Jay, who's a drummer, as well as my brother Joe, and he's actually going to be on this. We're going to do a thing with him because he just got back from Germany for the, oh my God, he's going to kill me. I can't remember the name of the festival that he just did with a band called Thrust, but it was just a few months ago. We're going to get him on and talk about that because that was a great time. However, the bus that they came out on was outside, and when Jeff showed up, it was full of stuff, all their belongings. And Jeff insisted when he got here that the photos of this session be taken on that bus. So while most of this for the first hour was going on, I was out moving washers and dryers and belongings, and but it all worked. Nobody saw that because most of the stuff was by then stuffed in the back so the guys could fit. But yeah, he loved that bus. He thought that bus was great and wanted to document it. So
yeah, very rock and roll.
Yeah, very rock. I think the Partridge Family started that way.
So yeah, I mean, so this is it, guys. I just I hope you've enjoyed it and shared
Absolutely.
with us a little bit of a walk down memory lane. Every time I listen to these CDs, I smile. It was a day in my life. And speaking of which, I just recently heard from Rick Marotta, who told me that the roundtable we did, which is a different LA Studio Roundtable, which is also available, not in CD form yet, but on the website as a download. He told me that was one of the most major times of his life. So
we got to get Rick on here.
Yeah, he's committed to that.
Oh, great.
So, I mean, these are just precious times in these guys' lives because they remember that time when they were together with their, these guys that mean something in their lives too. And it's just wonderful. So anyway, enough said. We're out. We're over and out. And
we'll see you next week. And just
next time.
Just keep an eye on your Facebook or whatever, and you'll get all the details of the upcoming show.
Talk to you later. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye.
Peace out.